Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. I would like to thank the organizers of the Delphi Economic Forum for inviting me today, and I'm thrilled that this excellent and prestigious annual event can take place under such trying circumstances in 2021. I am delighted to speak on the important topic of leveraging green opportunities of the post-pandemic recovery in Europe. The COVID-19 crisis continues to cause enormous loss of life worldwide, with over 3 million dead to date as infections still rise at an alarming rate in many countries. Since the pandemic began, 34% of all cases globally have been in the Europe and Central Asia region. 10 of the 12 countries with the highest case count worldwide are in the region. The pandemic has not been the only shock to countries in Europe and Central Asia. The region has also been impacted recently by natural disasters, political upheaval, and conflict. In Greece's neighborhood, Albania, Croatia, Turkey, and Greece have all experienced major earthquakes in the past 18 months. In addition to the health crisis, the pandemic has triggered a worldwide economic crisis. Although global economic activity has picked up this year, GDP is not likely to recover for some time, and it is likely to be uneven across the world. The World Bank estimates that economic activity contracted by 2% in the Europe and Central Asia region in 2020. Economies with strong trade or financial linkages to the euro area and those heavily dependent on services and tourism were the hardest hit. Last year's economic contraction could push an additional 6 million people into poverty, based on the $5.50 a day poverty line, commonly used in upper middle income countries. We are also seeing signs that children and women are being disproportionately affected by the crisis. Across Europe and Central Asia, the learning losses resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic is estimated to be as much as 30 PISA points. This is equivalent of losing a whole year of schooling. A likely outcome for many young people is reduced access to higher education, lower labor market participation, and consequently lower future earnings. A World Bank survey on COVID-19 has revealed that 76% of women were mostly or solely responsible for household chores and homeschooling during the pandemic. Women with less education were disproportionately hit by the unequal division of chores within families, and a larger proportion of women work in sectors that were forced to close. Billions of dollars have been spent on recovery programs to protect the global economy. At the World Bank, our COVID-19 emergency response has been fast and decisive in delivering support to developing countries, with a focus on helping the poorest and the most vulnerable. World Bank programs, normally around $42 billion per year, grew last calendar year to over $70 billion to meet intensified client demand. Over 60% of our new operations are directly in response to the COVID crisis. But our work is far from finished. Our ongoing support to clients must also focus on green, resilient, and inclusive transformations that will help economies capitalize on future opportunities while protecting against future potential shocks. Home to 10 of the world's 20 most carbon-intensive economies, the Europe and Central Asia region has entrenched climate and environmental challenges. Natural resources, air, water, and forests are being depleted at unsustainable rates. In fact, 1 in 8 deaths in Europe are attributable to air pollution. In the Western Balkans, it is 1 in 4 deaths. As countries strive for a post-pandemic recovery, we have an opportunity to build back our socioeconomic fabric in a way that ensures sustainable growth for generations to come. And at the heart of this opportunity is a green transition. Between 1990 and 2020, greenhouse gas emissions in the EU fell by roughly 23%, even as the economy grew by approximately 61%. EU countries effectively succeeded at decoupling growth and emissions. Today, Europe continues to be at the forefront of the green transition and has demonstrated that it is possible to simultaneously decarbonize and maintain economic growth. Through the European Green Deal, the EU has made clear and bold policy and financial commitments to decarbonization, climate resilience, natural capital, and social inclusion. Many countries in the region are using recovery programs to initiate and accelerate programs to promote energy-efficient housing and sustainable transport. These can deliver jobs in the short term and support inclusion while addressing two of the biggest sources of carbon emissions. Governments are stepping up investments in renewables to support increasingly ambitious climate actions under the 2015 Paris Agreement. This includes programs to explore advanced technologies such as energy storage and hydrogen. A green transition brings multiple opportunities: improved environmental quality, health and well-being, and transformed and modernized industry and infrastructure, but also accelerated economic diversification and competitiveness, new jobs, and strengthened resilience. But reaping these gains will require substantial investment. Some countries are already taking action. Take Greece, for example. The country's new economic plan for a post-COVID recovery, Greece 2.0, includes green and digital investments to support climate action, energy transition, and digital transformation. The plan also focuses on the tourism, agriculture, and renewable energy sectors, which can contribute substantially to the country's move towards climate neutrality. For developing countries, COVID-19 is compounding the risks posed by climate change. That's why at the World Bank, we are redoubling efforts to marshal our resources to help client countries, including through a new climate change action plan. We are already the largest provider of climate finance to the developing world, with 83 billion committed over the last 5 years. And over the next 5 years, 35% of the financing within our investments will go towards supporting developing country climate benefits. Over the same period, half of our financing will be dedicated to adaptation measures to help countries get ahead of the challenges. We have made bold commitments under the new Climate Change Action Plan. We recently announced it, and we are matching those commitments with bold solutions. Here is how we are doing so in Europe and Central Asia. 1. Moving away from coal. We are ramping up our support to help countries and regions shift away from coal. This means managing the social and economic consequences by working with communities and local authorities in partnership with national governments to ensure that the transition is just and inclusive. For example, the World Bank is supporting the European Commission's 18 billion euro Just Transition Fund to help member states, particularly in Central, Eastern and Southern Europe, meet the EU's climate neutrality goal by 2050. Our second measure is measuring progress. We are launching new intelligence products to monitor progress and identify areas for improvement. A key new product, the Country Climate and Development Reports, will support preparation and implementation of countries' nationally determined contributions, or NDCs. And the third measure is getting innovative. We are supporting countries through results-based lending for those undertaking key policy and institutional reforms to accelerate climate action. As such, the bank is leading the way for other institutions to also come in and stepping up climate-related investments. Translating bold climate objectives into policies and investments will require close attention to individual country circumstances and also strong cooperation between national governments and international institutions. It will require urgent investments at scale in all forms of capital, be it human, physical, natural, and social, to address structural weaknesses and promote growth. This will include significant reforms of fiscal systems, which will be needed to mobilize domestic resources in a way that promotes inclusiveness and helps finance the transition. in addition to strong private sector involvement. The international community faces daunting challenges with COVID-19 and climate change both imposing crises of global proportions. A strong and coordinated response is therefore required. I'm optimistic. In times of crisis, opportunity also presents itself. We as a global community must take this unprecedented opportunity to protect the world's human and natural capital, while also reducing poverty and inequality in our societies and delivering prosperity for all. Thank you.